everyone, my name is Varsha and welcome to Study with Varsha. So today I'm going to discuss, by seeing the headline you understand, I am going to discuss the question which generally interviewer ask in the interview. So if you are having experience up to freshers to 5 year, this video is for you. So here I will discuss 30 questions which generally interviewer will ask, and I will explain the answer also. And if they are asking for some test, so in the test also these kinds of questions they will give. Okay, so without any further delay, let's start and we'll try to understand. And if something is there which I did not have covered in my long videos on the topic, that I will create a video. Just you people let comment down in the comment box, and that I will create a separate video on the topic also. So the first question is ECR IP address in a subnet. Okay, the question is, you created a VPC with CIDR block 10.0.0.0/16 inside the VPC. You created a subnet with CIDR block 10.0.1.0/24. Which IP address can an EC2 instance in this subnet can use? So I will explain the answer, and if you want I will make a separate video on CIDR block also. Okay, so the answer is, here it is asking that if you have created a VPC with the specific CIDR block range, and inside the same VPC if you are going to create a subnet with a CIDR block this, so which IP address can instance subnet will take? So the answer is, an EC2 instance in this subnet can use the IP address of 10.0.1.5. Why 5? So, see, explanation. A subnet with CIDR block 24 can contain IP address from like 1.0 to, here if you will see, this is up to 24. So that can contain the IP address of 1.0 to 1.255. Okay, 255 is default, that I will explain when I will discuss the topic of CIDR block. So as of now you just understand, AWS reserve the IP 0, that is for network access. Okay, 1 for VPC router, 2 for DNS, and 3 for reserved, and 2.55. Okay, actually this 5 it is explaining. First is network address, second is VPC router, this one, third is DNS. Okay, and this one is reserved, and this one is broadcast. So this IP address is within the subnet range and it is not reserved, so it can be assigned, because 5 is not reserved. So this IP address only can assign to the EC2 instance. Okay. Now next question about the topic secure communication between application and database. So the question is your VPC has two private subnet. Okay, application subnet and database subnet, and CIDR block is also has been given. Only application server should be allowed to communicate with the database. What is the most secure and least maintenance way to configure this? So here our question is that only application subnet, which DNS is 10.0.1.0/24, that only is allowed to communicate with database. Other than this subnet, no subnet is allowed to connect with the database. So what is the most secure and least maintenance way we can configure it? So the answer is, to configure the database security group, database like also have a security group. Okay, to allow inbound traffic only from the application server security group. So if you know AWS little bit, so you people know that in application level also security group is there, and in database level also security group is there, and you have known that inbound and outbound role. If you don't know, I will explain in, I have already explained in some of my videos, and if you want and if you are not getting, comment in the comment box, I will make the separate video. But for as of now, you just understand that that database security, whenever we are creating the database security, at that time we will allow inbound traffic for the application server security group only, and we will block other things. So security group in AWS are stateful means which have the database, and stateless also one thing is there which does not contain the database. So security group in AWS are stateful, dynamic, updated. By allowing inbound traffic from the application server security group, you do not need to manage IP address. First thing, new application servers automatically get access and no other resources can access the database. So this approach is the most secure and easier to maintain than using the CIDR and network ACLs. Okay, so security group maintenance is the most perfect way. Okay, moving to the third question on the topic reducing NAT gateway cost. Okay, how can we reduce the NAT gateway cost? So let's go to the question. Your VPC has multiple private subnet across multiple availability zones. Instances frequently access Amazon S3 and other AWS services. NAT gateway costs have increased significantly. Which designs provide most reduction and minimal operational overhead? So this is the question. How can we reduce the NAT gateway cost? To reduce the NAT gateway is also inside the VPC. So if you people know VPC, then you will understand this question. So you have just understand as of now. So to reduce the NAT gateway cost, the best way is to create a gateway VPC endpoint for S3, okay, and consolidate traffic through a single NAT gateway for other outbound internet access. So like a gateway VPC endpoint for S3 route traffics, like if you will create a gateway endpoint for the S3, that will route your traffic directly within AWS, and that will eliminate NAT gateway data charges. And if you are using second thing, like if you are using a single NAT gateway, that will reduce hourly NAT gateway cost. Okay, and this approach only NAT instances which require patching, scaling and monitoring. So this designs provides the best balance of cost saving and simplicity. Okay, move to the next question, that on the topic CloudFront showing old JavaScript files. Okay, so your CloudFront is showing old JavaScript or any file, old version. So question is, your React application is served using Amazon CloudFront. Okay, CloudFront, if you don't know, that is CDN, means Content Delivery Network. Okay, so on the that also I have already created one video. So go to my the YouTube channel, and there you will playlist in the playlist of AWS, you will get this topic. Okay, so your React application is served using Amazon CloudFront. Your deployment, after deployment, user still see old JavaScript bundles even though index.html is invalidated. What should you do to fix this permanently? Okay, so we can use file name hashing for JavaScript files such as app. Like file name hashing, if you will use, so it will reduce or we can say eliminate this kind of things. So browser and CloudFront aggressively cache static assets like JavaScript files. So invalidating only index.html does not invalidate cache.js. So for that, file name hashing ensures like every deployment produce new files. Browsers automatically fetch new files and no manual invalidations are required. So this is the standard and best practice in front-end deployment. Okay, fair enough. Next question is, EKS pods fail with image pull back of. So this is the error, image pull up. Okay, and EKS pods is getting failed. The question is, your CI pipeline build a Docker image and pushes it to the Amazon ECR. Okay, Elastic Container Registry. During deployment on EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services, pods fail with the error image pull back off. No basic auth credentials. What is the correct fix? So correct fix is we have to use IAM role for the services, a service account like IRSA, so that Kubernetes service account can pull image from ECR automatically. So on Amazon ECR authenticates using AWS IAM, not static Docker credentials. So if you will use IAM service account like IRSA, so what it will provide? It will provide temporarily IAM credential, and it will eliminate the need of storing secret. So that is the most secure, and even it is recommended by AWS also. Okay. Next, low CPU but high application latency. CPU is low but latency is high. So question is, for example, if you have created a CloudWatch alarm on EC2, CPU utilization greater than 80%. However, API latency remain high, even CPU usage is 20 to 30%. So which metrics should you monitor instead? So you should monitor application load balancer target response. So their CPU usage does not reflect database latency and network delays and thread exhaustion. So target response time directly measure how long user wait for the response, and it is making better for the performance indicator. Next to the question, improving Kubernetes secret securely. So a developer stored database credentials in a Kubernetes secret and injected them as a environment variable. The security team wants better security and automatic rotation. What is the correct improvement? Okay, so here our target is to improving Kubernetes secret security. So like in Kubernetes, many ways to secure our secrets. So the best way is to store credential in AWS credential manager. AWS secret manager, that if you will know AWS, that you know. And we can allow pod to access them using IAM role for service account, and we will give very minimal people to that access, like that IAM role credentials. And like if I'll explain this, that Kubernetes secrets are only base 64 encoded. Okay, if you will know, like eco base encoded base pipe base 64 hyphen encoded. So so that only will do, and that do not support automatic rotation. So in AWS secret manager, that will encrypt our secret, and that will support rotation also, and provide auditing and fine grained IAM access also. Okay, EC2 to S3 traffic using NAT Gateway. Okay, so your EC2 instance are in a private subnet. Okay, and access Amazon S3 through a NAT Gateway. Okay, causing high cost. Got it. So what is the network configuration fix? Okay, are you getting the question? Your EC2 is in private subnet. There are two types of subnet: private subnet, public subnet. Public subnet, the rest thing, and private subnet, that is specifically, okay, for that instance. Now, your S3, where are you storing the data, that is going through a NAT gateway. Okay, and NAT gateway is always charge high cost. Now, you want the same configuration, same network configuration, but with the low cost. So how can we do? Get the question? Now, if we will create a gateway VPC endpoint for Amazon S3, just before also I explained. So if whenever we are creating VPC endpoint for S3, that will update private subnet and route table. So route S3 like traffic privately within the AWS, and it will remove the gateway data processing charge also. No need to do that, and that will improve security and performance as well. Okay, next question is EKS cluster autoscaler not scaling. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. So EKS cluster autoscaler not scaling means question is cluster autoscale is enabled. Okay, Autoscaler is enabled on EKS. Pods remain in pending state with insufficient CPU, but no new nodes are added. What is the most likely cause? So the most likely cause is the pod resource requests are too large to fit on any available node instance type. Okay. So next question is alerting on ALB5XX error. So you need to detect when application load balancer 5XX error exceed 3% for 5 minutes and send an alert to the Slack. The solution must be simpler and cost effective. So best way is to use application load balancer CloudWatch metrics to create an alarm and send that notification with the SNS. Like SNS is a service that AWS itself provide to the Slack. So application load balancer provide built-in 5x metrics in the CloudWatch, and that will avoid like log parsing, additional cost charge, and complex pipelines that we can avoid. Next question is auto scaling group AMI design. So you are designing auto scaling group for a web application. In that, like operating system runtime libraries rarely changes. Application code is update quickly. Goal is fast scaling with minimal maintenance. So what is the most appropriate design? So the best answer is to bake the operating system and runtime into the AMI and deploy the application code separately using a deployment mechanism such as AWS code deploy or somewhere. So backing OS and runtime into the AMI makes instance launch fast and consistent. So application code change frequently, and so it should not require rebuilding AMI every time. The application balance speed, flexibility, and operational simplicity. Now, scaling for predictable traffic. So your application traffic spikes every weekly, like between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. During night and weekdays, traffic is minimal. The scaling solution should be simple, reliable, and low maintenance. So what is the best scaling? So the best solution is to use auto scaling schedule action to scale up during the peak hours and scale down during the off hours. So traffic pattern is predictable. So here we can schedule action, avoid unnecessary complexity, and more reliable than metric based scaling for fixed schedules. Next question. Argo CD infinite pipeline loop. So your store use a Helm chart in the same GitHub repository as your application code. Your CI pipeline update the image tag in values.yaml and commit it to the back to the repository. This commit trigger another pipeline, creating an infinite loop. What is the correct way to fix this while maintaining GitOps best practices? So to correct fix is to separate application code and deployment configuration by moving the Helm chart or configuration values into a separate repository. So CI should build artifact, CD will do Argo CD should deploy, and separating repositories prevents feedback loop and preserves GitOps principle. Next question is TLS and MTLS in EKS. So your EKS cluster hosts multiple microservices. Requirements will be external traffic must be use TLS with path-based routing, and internal service-to-service traffic must use a MTLS with observability. So what solution best meets both requirement? Give me a sec. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah, so the answer is to use an ingress controller for external traffic and a service mesh for the internal service to service communication. So here ingress will handle HTTPS in termination and routing, and service mesh provide MTLS traffic policies, tracing, and metrics internally. Now migrating EKS workload to Graviton. So your question is, your company wants to migrate workloads from 8x EC2 instance to ARM based Graviton nodes in EKS to reduce the cost. So what changes are required? The answer is build ARM compatible. Compatible means multi-architecture. container image and ensure pods are scheduled only on compatible nodes. So moving to the next question. Your EKS cluster has both AMD 64 and ARM 64 nodes. Pods using the image like MyApp, latest fill on ARM node with EXE format error. This is the error. So what is the correct fix without restricting scheduling unnecessarily? The correct fix is to publish multi-architectural image, or you can create separate architectural image and allow Kubernetes to pull the correct one automatically. So if you will do so, the error occur because an AMD 64 binary is running on the ARM node. So, and multi-arch images resolve this transparently and no need to force pod onto specific node groups. Private only EKS API access. So your EKS cluster API endpoint is private only. Your CI/CD system still needs to deploy manifest securely, which approaches are not suitable for secure long-term production uses. So the unsuitable approach are using certificates along to bypass network access and temporarily enabling the public API endpoint. Let me explain. Here certificate do not grant network reachability. Temporarily exposing the public API weakens securely. So for the long-term solution should use private networking, or you can create GitOps full waste deployment. Now, Nginx ingress 404 error. If this error is coming, then how you can handle? So you have configured a Nginx ingress with a path resort. Request to the report API return 404. Even though HTTPS work, what is the correct phase? So we can update the path to report so prefix matching work correctly. I think you understand. Next question is zero downtime EKS upgrade. So you need to upgrade an EKS cluster from version 1.29 to 1.32 with zero downtime. What is the correct execution order? So renew Kubernetes and EKS release notes, and we can scan manifest for the depreciated API, and we can fix deprecated API. We can test the upgrade in the staging, and we can upgrade the control plane on one mirror. And most important thing, first go and check the official document that what is the additional thing has been added in the 1.3 to, like, one document will release every, like, if you are going to upgrade AWS or EKS, so they will release one document also. Okay, so go and read like what is the additional thing which is present in the 1.30 which was not in the 1.29 and what it will affect. So each and everything just read, and then we have to go and update. Okay, now next question is blue-green deployment issues. So after a blue-green deployment, some users still hit the old version. Error rates spike temporarily. Sessions became inconsistently. What most accurately explain this? So this is a long-lived connection, incomplete health check before traffic switch, and DNS or client-side caching. Docker build cache invalidation. If Docker builds are slow because cache is invalidated on every commit, what is the best optimization? So the best optimization is to copy dependency file first and then install dependency, and then copy the application code combined with a multi-stage build. Okay, so dependency changes less often than the code, and Docker layer caching is preserved. So multi-stage build will reduce the image size and the build time. Next question is why runtime security is required. So your organization already scans container image in CI. Okay, why you are runtime security tools is still required? So the answer is runtime security tools are required because static image scanning cannot detect malicious behavior during container execution. Give me a sec. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. So your organization already scanned. So this question we have discussed. Next, ECR auth failure in long builds. Sorry. So Docker push fails with no basic auth credentials during long CI builds. And what is the correct fix? So the correct fix is to use OIDC based IAM role authentication and re-authenticate immediately before pushing the image. So whenever long builds can invalidate authentication context, so OIDC provides fresh credentials automatically and relogin ensures push code securely. Node upgrade blocked by PDP. So node upgrade failed due to pod disruption budgets, violation and depreciated API. So what is the correct approach? So your correct approach is to temporarily relax and restrict pod distribution budget and fix deprecated API before upgradation. So it will force drain cause outage and deprecated API breaks workloads after upgrade and safe preparation avoid downtime. Now, database performance monitor. Which metrics are most important for monitoring database performance beyond CPU and memory? So that is our application tag, query latency and cache hit ratio. Load balancer health dashboard. You want a dashboard showing traffic quality and backend path. So the best metrics is 4x error rate, 5x error rate, target response time and TLS handshake error. Access log insights. What insights can be derived directly from web server access logs? So that will be client IP distribution, slow endpoint and correlation of error to URL and request sizes. So that is the last question. Which statement are build multi-stage Docker build? So that is multi-stage Docker build provide no benefit for this is the correct. So leave it. So this question, whatever I have discussed today, that is little bit, high level or standard questions. This is not the very common question which interviewer will ask, but this is very standard question. If interviewer is having asked this question and you have answered it, for example, if interviewer have asked 10 question and in that you have in that 10 question, if one question is from here and you have answered it and maybe you have answered 3 or 4 question, it is a chance of 80 to 90% that he is going to take you, because this question only the person who understand AWS very well, they can only answer these questions. So just watch it first time. If you're not understanding, I will suggest you watch again and then I will sure that you will understand. Even though if you will not understand, just comment in the comment box. I will try to elaborate it and brief it, and I will try to explain it in a more easy way by correlating. So thank you for watching Study with Varsha. Have a great day.